Hey everybody. So I just wanted to do a quick informal video real quick, just kind of talking about whether or not you should or shouldn't try to sell your motorcycle on Facebook Marketplace or privately at all. But my experience is mostly with Facebook Marketplace. So I just wanted to take a moment, tell you what I've been through over the past 2 years related to doing that type of stuff, and see if any of my experience might be able to help you decide one way or the other on which way you will want to go. So I'm going to try to jump right into it from the beginning and slowly get towards what I'm doing right now, and we'll see if I can help you out at all. So there are indeed pros and cons to trying to sell your motorcycle online. This is a 2021 Kawasaki Z400 that I'm currently trying to sell. And I'm going to go into that a little bit deeper. That is the third or fourth motorcycle I've been trying to sell online. And I would just kind of like to take a moment and see what I can share with you. Okay, so funny story. As I was filming segments for this and talking about selling stuff on Facebook Marketplace, somebody messaged me and said they are interested in buying this if I can meet them right now today. So, I'll be back and I'll let you all know how it goes. Thank you. All right, well, it's a few days later, but thankfully the Z400 did indeed sell. So I'm going to walk you through it and just kind of start right back off with the video and go into detail about how there are a lot of pros and cons, and you have to really weigh them out for yourself, especially depending on what you're trying to sell. So, for example, one of the biggest pros to selling your bike privately is you're obviously going to get a lot more money for it than if you went to a dealership and tried to do a trade-in or RumbleOn or one of these other Carvana-like websites for motorcycles. Because they're going to offer you a number and it's not going to be what you think it's going to be. You could go to the Kelley Blue Book motorcycle section. You could go to NADA or whatever evaluation appraisal site. And chances are the number you're going to get from them is still going to be lower than what you want to hear. But unfortunately, the number you're going to get from a trade-in is probably going to be even lower than that. So, yes, one of the biggest pros is you have the potential to make way more money versus a trade-in or trying to sell it to one of the other websites. But here's the con, right? What are the type of bikes people usually try to sell, right? Let's say you are a responsible rider. Let's say you even took really good care of the bike, right? But let's say it was your starter bike. Let's say it was a 250, a 300, or a 400 even, right? And now you've ridden it for a year or two and you're ready to move up. Fantastic. Congratulations. Now you want to know, should I sell my beginner bike? Well, guess who buys beginner bikes? Beginners. That's who buys beginner bikes. So you have to ask yourself very important questions. And I'm going to get into that right now. Okay, so first and foremost, you're going to want to get the pictures and you're going to want to pay attention to what you're doing for your actual listing that you're going to make, right? Like, look at some of the photos I took of the Can-Am Ryker 900, right? You want to try to do almost a panoramic. You want to get every single side of it because you don't want to answer the same 12 questions every single person who reaches out to you. If you just save yourself the time and the headache and take good photos of anything and everything that may or may not be wrong with the vehicle from the very beginning, it's going to save you a bunch of headache. I'm just going to warn you now that you will not believe the level of dumb questions you get. Now here is the first two-wheeler I ever had, which is the Suzuki Gixxer 250. Now, you're going to see something in common with this bike, that Ryker, and the Ninja 400 that I did, right? or the Ninja Z400, my apologies, it's that they are all beginner friendly, which can become a huge pain in your butt when it comes time to try to sell your motorcycle, right? So I've been harping on this beginner bike piece a lot, and I'm going to explain why that's such a crutch when trying to sell your bike. And the reason is because, are you, as the owner of that motorcycle, going to trust somebody to test ride that bike? Let's be honest, chances are they either never sat on a motorcycle before, or their best experience is with like a 49cc Honda Ruckus. Maybe they just finished their 3-day course to get their license or something like that. Maybe they just got their permit. We're talking little to no experience whatsoever. Are you going to take that risk to let that person test drive your bike and that be their first time ever on something? Because I'm going to tell you right now, I made that mistake. I let somebody test drive my bike and they did damage to it. Not a lot. It was only scratches. Don't get me wrong. I ended up losing $500 to the person who ended up actually buying it because of those scratches. But it is what it is. It's water under the bridge now. But that's what I'm trying to tell you. They went and did something I asked them to please not try to do, and it didn't matter. They did it anyways. So I had to call the insurance, call all these people, figure out what I'm looking at, and they pretty much came down to, was it a consented test drive? Not did he do something I asked him not to do. Was it a consented test drive? And in Pennsylvania, I said, yes, it was consented test drive. And they said, well, then you're out of luck. Do you want to file a claim or do you want to just live with it? Well, shoot, I'll tell you what, I lived with it, and it ended up costing me $500 to the actual person who bought it. So I know a lot of those more experienced riders and sellers are sitting there thinking, why would you have let somebody like that test ride the bike, right? Well, it was actually that three-wheeler, so I had no fear that they were going to fall over. So unfortunately, they had no legal obligation whatsoever to pay me back for what they did. And unfortunately, in addition to all of that, it was completely out of my control. It was what it was. I hate to say it like that, but that's what it ended up being. And so when push came to shove, you have to ask yourself, if you're selling a beginner bike, would you have bought a motorcycle that they didn't let you test drive? Would you have bought a motorcycle off of the word of a stranger you met on Facebook Marketplace, where they just started up in front of you, knowing that they may have let the bike run and idle and blah, 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 or that maybe third gear is completely shattered or just tore up so bad it's almost unusable after the second gear? You have no idea. You have no idea what you're looking at without a test drive, unfortunately, on a lot of these bikes. And what are you going to do? Would you buy it if you couldn't test drive it? And on the Gixxer 250, I lost a lot of potential buyers because of that. And after learning the hard way the first time, I wasn't about to make that mistake. I ended up sitting on that bike for half a year before I accepted that I'm better off turning it in. But the three-wheeler I sold privately and got a lot more money than if I'd have sold it privately or sold it to a dealership. And the 400 I sold privately, but I'll tell you what, I sat on that for like 8 months, but that's a different story that I'm going to get into. The next big challenge is knowing that you're going to have to vet your potential buyers, because I can't tell you how many times I had someone message me and say some absolutely wild stuff. Some people wanted to trade, even though in my description, which is very important that you put a very detailed description. It's your easiest way to not answer the same 12 questions all the time. I put in there in bold, no trades. I already have a ZX6R. I don't want anything else. It's what I got, what I want. No trades. Still got tons of people asking me to do trades. It's painful. It's really painful. I've had people offer me like some Jordan shoes and a grill plus $1,000. I mean, I've had wild offers. You have to just vet these people out instantaneously. And then after that, I've had a lot of buyers who get past that point and then they try to pull something else where it's, hey, I've got a trailer. I'll come pick it up on your day off even. I'll give you the cash and then I'll load it up and drive away. I'm sorry, what? You're just going to load it up and drive away? Sir, I don't mean to sound like a jerk, but we got to go to the notary. We got to transfer title. We got to do this and that. Oh, no. I don't want to do any of that, actually. Is there any chance we could just not? I'm sorry. It almost sounded like you don't want me to transfer the title of it out of my name. So if you get caught doing some wild shit or you rack up a bunch of turnpike fees, they come to me. That's what it sounded like. Is that what you were asking? Because that's not going to happen. I'm not doing that. You have to vet these people out because they don't want to pay that tax. They don't want to do this. They don't want to do that. I had people actually try to lie to me and try to be like, oh yeah, let's just do a casual bill of sale because I plan on tracking the bike. I don't really want the title. I don't want anything. Let me just throw you a couple extra bucks. You just write something up on a piece of paper and then I drive it away. Okay, that's not how bill of sale works. I can't just grab a piece of lined paper, we both sign it, and then you just go down the road. If it's not notarized, that's not going to work here in Pennsylvania. Sorry, but if you want to buy this bike, we're going to have to do it legally, and that's all there is to it. And the next thing is that you can't just post your bike for whatever you want. Yeah, it's good to look up what the value is on NADA and Kelley Blue Book, but at the end of the day, depending on your area, where you live and what you do, you're going to have to actually go and do some local research, like hop on Facebook Marketplace, Cycle Trader, things like that, and actually look for yourself. Pretend you're the buyer who's looking for your bike, right? And look at what other people are paying or what people are asking for that bike, year, model, what it's got on it, which I'll be honest with you, most people don't care about aftermarket stuff. They just don't. Like, it'd be a nice plus. Like, I had sliders on mine. They were like, sweet, that saves me $100. But you can't charge for it because there's going to be someone else who has that already on there who's not charging. You have to make sure yours is priced fairly with the actual market of your area. So with that being said, you have to play the game on both sides to actually be a real decent buyer and seller, realistically. Because if you don't, people can take you for a ride and then you're going to be the one out. Because NADA said that my Z400 was worth $35.50 if it was a 2020 with average miles. Well, it wasn't a 2020. It was a 2021 with 1,000 miles on it. And I knew that it was worth more than that. But unfortunately, when I did market research in the area, X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 my local area, they were selling for about $3,500 to $4,500, dependent on Lord only knows what. Why there was a $1,500 shift, I don't know. But if I wanted mine to sell and not sit on it for another half a year to depreciate, plus pay insurance on it, plus do this, plus do that, blah, 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 you have to price things competitively. So I only ended up getting about $3,700 for mine when all was done and over with, but I only bought it like 6 months ago for $4,300. So really, price for price, not counting insurance, not counting maintenance, other things that I've done to it, blah, blah, blah. I probably only lost maybe $1,000 or so on it for half a year of ownership. That's not bad. I'll take that any day of the week, for real. But hey, you know, it's up to you to decide what's better for you. If you want to trade it into a dealership, it's super easy. You walk in, hey, I got this, go appraise it. They lowball you. You say thanks for, can't say that, thanks for taking advantage of me, because I know I could have got more for it by myself, but I don't want to deal with the headache. I don't want to deal with the risk of some new rider or possibly losing out on multiple potential buyers because I won't let them test drive it, things like that. You've got a lot to consider and a lot to go over, and there's so much to all of the whole process. You just have to decide what's right for you, unfortunately. And really, there's going to be times where you find a buyer who's like, yes, I know I want this bike. I'm going to buy it from you. Thanks for sending me a video of it starting up, X, Y, and Z. And they do everything you want them to do. And then guess what? You show up at the notary, you meet them halfway, you do whatever you got to do. And then you're standing there and they're like, oh, sorry, I can't make it today. And it was their only available day to do it was a day you had to call and take off work. If you got to burn a vacation day to not even make a sale, there's so much other stuff that can happen that I've either had happen to me or witnessed happen to someone else who tried to privately sell it. I don't want to say it's not worth it, because there's times where somebody messages you out of nowhere and they end up buying it for exactly what you were asking, no negotiation, and then it all goes smoothly without a hitch, all on the same day. You have no idea. But it's a game that you have to ask yourself if you want to play it. And if you decide to play it, how long are you willing to wait before you just accept defeat and go to a dealership or somewhere? And up here in the north, I'll tell you right now, they don't even want to think about taking a bike in from like the end of the season, let's say November-ish, maybe even like late October. They don't even want to think about taking a bike in from that time till March or April. If you try to trade a bike in, they'll either immediately turn you away at the door like they did to me, or they're going to tell you right off the bat, hey, look, I understand you really want to get rid of this. Here's this ridiculously lowball offer that you would never accept in your life unless you were absolutely desperate. And it can become a process. So you got to weigh the pros and cons for yourself. You're going to get less. People who want to buy privately are doing it so they pay less than what they would at a dealership. And you, as the seller, get to make more than if the dealership did it. But you don't have any safety guarantees, no warranties, no backups, no nothing. As the buyer, it is as is. So if you put 100 miles on it and something blows, sorry, tough luck. You're the owner now, buddy. But on the same side, as the seller, you have to play the game of the description, the photos, vetting the people and the messages, and then possibly sitting on a bike for half a year while racking up insurance charges. And then if you end up holding on to it for half a year, chances are it hit its time limit on the oil. Now you're doing the oil change. You probably have to get it inspected because they'll say, oh, inspection's due and blah, blah, blah. Guess what? I'm not buying it unless you get it inspected. That's all more and more money that is coming off of your end of the deal. And if you hold on to it for too long, X, Y, and Z, you might as well have traded into the dealership, because now, even if they buy it for what you're asking, you might not have made out any better. It's all a game of chance, and you have to decide for yourself if you want to play it. But you have to do the math to see how long can you play it before you're losing money versus turning it into the dealership. So thank you guys. I've had some horror stories trying to sell 3 or 4 bikes, and I'm very happy with the ZX6R now. But this is just all stuff to keep in mind if you're thinking about doing the Facebook private marketplace, because people are crappy and they're going to try to do crappy things to you. And no matter how nice you are or how much you try to help somebody, chances are there's going to be plenty of people out there who try to take advantage of it, or they organize a show at a notary, and the moment you get there, you may have agreed on $3,500 and they're like, "Oh crap, I counted wrong. I only have $3,250 on me somehow." You're going to have stuff happen like that where you just drove an hour to meet somebody halfway, and now they're trying to hardball you into either driving home or taking $250 less after agreeing to a negotiation online. You're going to have really bad people message you. It's all a game of chance. You have no idea who's going to reach out, how often they're going to reach out, what you're going to end up with. I wish you guys nothing but the best if you do choose privately, as you can make more money that way. But again, I wish you guys luck if you want to do it. I totally understand not wanting to go to the dealership, but it's an equation more than anything else. All right, I'll see you guys. Oh, last thing. I just remembered it as I was closing everything out. You're going to have people lie to you. You're going to have people looking at a beginner bike or something like that who tell you, "Oh, I've been riding for years." And they haven't. And it becomes very obvious they haven't. And it'll be too late because they'll already be halfway down the road. Or I had an older gentleman, when I was talking to him about this a couple weeks ago, who told me that there was somebody that actually stole his bike from him during a test drive. He showed up to his house. He was showing him the bike, answering questions, and he was asking questions about, well, does this have a security thing? Does this have a safeguard? Is it GPS? Blah, blah, blah. Questions that a normal buyer may actually be genuinely interested in. And when he found out it wasn't GPS, wasn't protected, guess what? That test drive ended up being a ride home. The bike was stolen. And what does he have more so than a fake Facebook to go find? You know, like, sure, he knew what the guy looked like, but he didn't take the guy's driver's license. He didn't photocopy anything. He ended up on the hook and had to report his own bike stolen from a test drive. Wild stuff can happen, and if you're not ready for it, you might not want to even deal with private. If all you think about is the dollar signs and not the risk versus the reward. All right, for real though, that's the end. I wish you guys luck if you try to sell privately. I know I'll probably try to do it again one day, but I'm certainly not going to look forward to it. It's been a miserable experience all 3 or 4 times that I've done it. Do not recommend, but would do it again in hopes to make more money than the dealership. All right, I'll see you.